Hello and welcome to Australian Survivor Desktop. I'm Jack. This is episode 4. We're looking at episode 19 of Australian Survivor Brains vs. Brawn. 7 survivors left. Let's get into it. We'll start off with the post-vote reaction. Andrew was incredibly salty. I think he struggles to see the forest for the trees. If you look at the position that Haley and Wei find themselves in, it makes a lot of sense they made the decision to get rid of Emmett. Getting rid of George would have still been a good person to get out. But they would have found themselves at the bottom of that other majority. And they would have found themselves 5th and 6th with Carr at 7. So they would have not been long for Survivor. So I think in terms of their positioning in the game, it made a lot of sense. And Andrew, funnily for us, seems to struggle to even reconcile what's happened there. Moving on to the reward challenge, or rather just the reward itself. Danny plays very strong, very open. I think it's too bold. I think that it wasn't particularly smart. Like, Cara is never going to flip on George. Wei definitely could have, but I think she could have been far more strategic with the way she did that. She does it at every reward she's at. She proposes a new alliance, a new thing, a new this, a new that. Like, it's not, to me, it's not, she's playing hard. I don't think she's playing smart. Although we will get to, I thought she did quite well at Tribal, which we'll get to in a minute. I did find it very entertaining that Cara thought that she was playing her own game. It was very cute of Cara. Like, this photo, you wouldn't even recognise. That looks nothing like it. But, and that photo, she actually looks like someone who might actually have a bit about her. But she's definitely George's puppet. She's a sycophant, and she says that George has always been honest with her, but I don't think George has been. Like, he definitely didn't keep her in the loop when it came to him playing his idol. I think it should be very clear to everybody, including Cara, that George will do what's best for George and no one else. And the reason that he keeps her around is because she is so beneficial to him, because she's blindly loyal to him and is not playing her own game. So I think if she stuck her head out of the sand for a bit and had a bit of self-awareness, she'd recognise that she needs to do something. Now, Cara sort of threatened that she might, be prepared to make a big move at some point, but I think that if she even does do that, it'll be far too little too late. She's not done anything, and she's not a contender in this game. I thought this episode was another good example of why George is not strategic but just lucky. In fairness to Cara did a really good job of bringing Wei in and helping her feel included. And I think had it not been for Cara, George might have sunk his own ship there. So when Cara told George to step back, let Wei have a say, I thought that was really smart. I thought it was a really good way to earn Wei's trust and to make Wei feel as though she was more than just a pawn in this whole puzzle. Of course, George couldn't help himself and went and told Wei that Andrew was saying it's got to be Wei that goes home. And I don't think Wei bought that at all. And I think that, Wei even said it herself, that George is going to do what's best for George. I wonder how much of Wei's decision was influenced by Cara's, including her in that, and making her feel just a tiny bit more part of it and secure. I think George could have easily sat back and said, you know what, Wei, you're 100% right. Flick's the one to go for. I'll follow you in this one. And Wei would have felt really included, a part of a core member of the team, and it would have built a lot of trust with her. Sure, you don't get rid of Andrew, but you get rid of Flick, who, like, at the end of the day, George is going to lose challenges to Flick or Andrew or whoever. So, like, I don't really think it matters whether or not he does or doesn't get Andrew out. I mean, sure, Andrew might win through, but Haley's beaten Andrew twice in a row now. So, like, the logic of, well, if we don't get Andrew out now, he'll win his way through, I think is not as sound. And getting Flick out would have just made Wei feel really special. So I think that was a missed trick by George there. But this is George's, he's chaos. He cannot sit still. He can't take a passive approach, even if it's in his best interest. He can't sit back and see the big picture. I get it. He feels like he's fighting for his life, so he had to do something. He'd rather do something than nothing. But a truly great Survivor player would understand the opportunity that was there for him and probably would have played it a little bit better. And I really do think that he got very lucky that his behaviour didn't actually flip Wei. because I think Way saw through it, and it could have been the nail in the coffin where Way goes, no, he's a liar, I'm getting rid of him. We'll go to a tribal, the save scroll, not a fan. I guess my theory being that because they lost Chelsea, they're looking to make up an episode. It'd really suck if we get a save scroll at the, my best bet is that there's going to be 3 save scrolls at the next tribal, with 1 being safe. And then if it doesn't get saved again, then there'll be 2. And they're looking to buy an extra episode there because they lost somebody. Didn't enjoy it. Not a fan of all these twists, but it didn't happen to matter in this one. I thought Danny actually played tribal really well, starting to sow the seeds of doubt and helping people recognise that it's time to start playing their game and that the people on the bottom are very useful to them. I think Danny looked at that and went, you know what, I actually am okay with Andrew going home here, because next week presents the best option for her, or the best opportunity for her to make a move. So Andrew mentioned that, if we don't do something now, George is going to the end. I think Danny saw that and went, I don't think that's the case. I think it's next week so we'll talk about it now. So Way and Hayley had a choice. This episode focused way more on Way. I guess maybe Way was faltering more, but Hayley could have made the same choice. So either one of them could have voted for George and it would have sent George home. In the end, obviously they voted for Andrew and Andrew went home. Was that the right decision? So the consequence of that decision is basically now there's a 4-2 majority, but really George and Cara are so tight that something is going to have to give sooner or later. So I would expect to see in the next episode Danny's going to have great success convincing Hayley and Way to come over to the other side and decide to get rid of this power couple of George and Cara. Obviously, they don't know that Cara has an idol, but actually that doesn't matter in this instance because let's say that they split their vote. So Hayley and Way vote for Cara, Flick and Danny vote for George. Cara plays her idol on herself, and they vote for Flick. Then it's going to be 2 votes Flick, 2 votes George. It'll go to a revote, and then the 3, Danny, Hayley, and Way will just vote off George, whilst Cara's vote off George, whilst Cara's vote for one of the others won't count. So that idol is actually not really that valuable at this point in time. Cara can use it to save herself and keep herself in the game, so it's very valuable to her, but it doesn't really change the equation in terms of getting George out. So that puts them in a pretty good position. The alternative is if they'd voted George out now, you'd have Cara on the bottom and you'd have an alliance of 5. I guess at that point, you would probably end up trying to vote out. I don't think anyone would want to vote out Cara at that stage. I think people would say, no, we can't vote out Cara because Cara's a good vote for us. And I think you'd see Danny and Flick and Andrew trying to pull in Cara to vote out Hayley. From Hayley's perspective, I think she made the right choice to get rid of Andrew. I don't know if she thought it through this much, but I think that this puts her in a better position because I can see definitely those 3, because would Hayley, Andrew, and Hayley, Cara, and Way stick together? I think Cara would be furious and would just flip to the other side. So I think they made the right decision in doing what they did there. And now they can go and flip and get George out, and then there's going to be a 4v1, and then obviously it's going to be a Way and Hayley versus Danny and Flick to get Cara's vote at that stage, as opposed to Andrew, Flick, and Danny bringing Cara in and knocking them off one by one. So I think the right decision was made. Even though I can't stand George, I want George to go. I think, again, he survives just purely on the maths and the strategy behind what's happening here. So that's Survivor episode 19. Survivor Desktop, Australian Survivor Desktop, episode 4. Let me know if you agree with the strategy, if you thought it was the right choice. Let's hope George goes home next episode. Let's get George out.